My guest today is an actor, director, musician, and a founder of the Secret Theater, Richard Mazda. Hi, Richard.
Hi, Lucia. Nice
Ni-
to see you.
Nice to have you here. For those of you who don't know who you are and what you do, how would you describe what you do?
Everybody always says I'm always busy. I do a lot of things. I do a lot of things. I kind of call myself a polymath, meaning that, I do all those things. I am an actor. I am a musician. I do direct. I produce plays. I founded the Secret Theater, the Secret Arts, Vital Arts Studios. I founded the LIC Arts Open Festival. I write songs. I write plays. And, in short, I think life is for living. So, since I was young, I've embraced every opportunity that came my way. And I got lucky. I was in the music business when I was young. I was a teenage actor, but then I went into the music business and I got successful with that. I got a record deal. I had a #1 hit record in a few countries around the world. I wrote an R&B #1 and got an ASCAP award. I did many, many things which over the years somebody said, do you think you could do that? I'd be like, sure. And I would dive into things. So along the way, I've learned, how to play other instruments because I started out as a guitarist, but I play other things now. I sing, I don't understand people who don't want to be busy, right? To me, being busy is like the best thing ever. And it's true that, I do have to struggle sometimes to get a work-life balance and to go and to be with my family because I'm obsessed with working. But I'm happy. I'm happiest when I'm doing all of those things.
It's so interesting. I met you years and years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the last time I saw you, you had a mask. You were doing the drywall at the Secret Theater for yet another location.
Uh-huh.
But I'm so happy it's in Long Island City again. And you wear all these different hats. And yes, you are busy, but somehow they all relate to each other. It's everything in the arts.
They do.
Okay, wait.
I don't know.
So they somehow always relate to each other. And it's hard for artists to make a living with their art, but you kind of seem to have figured it out.
I have. Occasionally.
Was it a clear path? Like, how did you...
No, it was a clear path.
It wasn't? Or
it was.
It was?
In as much as when I was 5, 6 years old, my aunties would say things like, what are you going to do when you grow up? And I always knew that I wanted to be somehow performing or involved with the arts, and I didn't know how. I used to have like a little recurring dream. So I would tell people that when I was 5, I would say I want to be famous or a tycoon. And I never made the tycoon part, and I'm only like moderately famous. Some people know who I am. And but really you don't do it for fame. And so what happened is as you grow into yourself as a young performer, you realize that you actually do it because you love it, not for fame. Anyone who's chasing fame is possibly going to end up very disappointed. So, I work with young artists all the time, and I tell them, do everything you can. Today's actors, today's singers, they can do everything. I was thinking of an example I gave people earlier, like if you think of all the kids in Stranger Things, they can do so many things. Millie Bobby Brown can sing, she can rap, she's funny, she does all those things. Joe, what's his name? He has a huge band. He's a famous star, just, besides Stranger Things. Finn Wolfhard, or whatever his name is, he has a band. Gaten Matarazzo, he has been on and off Broadway his whole life. Sadie Sink, She did Broadway. Also did that movie, The Whale. She's a good singer too. So, what I now see is that people aren't just becoming rock stars or just actors. They are sort of becoming entertainers,
It's like multi-hyphenate.
multi-hyphenate. I don't
But how
really.
do you stay focused when you do that? Because a lot of us, a lot of
Oh.
creatives like you, we have so many ideas and we want to go for it and we go for things. But let's say what is your day like? So you wake up and you work for the Secret Theater, you do the drywall, but then you're like, wait, I have the LIC Arts open. And then you jump to that. Like, how do you organize your day so you can be successful in all the things you
Oh,
do?
Lucia, I have to own up. Occasionally I might screw up and maybe I don't get the phone call I was supposed to get from somebody, or I don't return the text message I get. But the way that I juggle it is that I can't give up anything. It's very hard for me to give up anything. So with the LIC Arts Open this year, I have some wonderful partners helping me. I'm not doing it all alone. And in fact, Norma Homburg from the LIC Artists, who I serve on the board for them as well, and I are sort of doing it together along with another girl called Carolina Penafiel and some of the board members. But Norma's been taking the lead a little bit on that this year.
What made you decide this year to
To-
let go of the reins a little bit?
Well, number one, there were some changes a few years ago when Culture Lab and Long Island City Artists sort of split. And so I joined the board of Long Island City Artists. And at that time, it was around the pandemic years, which were kind of awful for lots of people, and me included. I thought that the most sensible thing to do would be to take the festival and give it to Long Island City Artists as an asset, if you like. And also at the same time, at that point, I was still controlling a gallery in the factory on 47th Avenue, and I was curating art exhibitions as well. And they didn't have a home. The Long Island City Artists didn't have a home. So I gave them that gallery. So, you have two big arts organizations, Culture Lab and the Long Island City Artists. They both have homes. They're both putting on exhibitions constantly, and we collaborate. So it seemed logical to let go a little bit. I'd like to, but I won't live forever. And so you've got to be mindful of that. And also, I started the festival for the community. It's not my festival, It's just something that, it's a little bit like the guy who started Woodstock, or the guy who does Glastonbury in England, a farmer, he suddenly became famous for doing Glastonbury every single year, or Yazga's Farm for the original Woodstock. The people that did those things, they did them for the right reasons. There was a kind of sense of community about why they did things. That's really big for me. I'm really heavily into my community. And despite the accent, I am an American citizen, and I love Sunnyside, Woodside, where I live. I really love Long Island City. I've spent a lot of years down there. I actually think in some ways I was sort of pioneering what I was doing, because back in 2004, I got started in Long Island City. No one knew what it was.
Yeah.
No one knew where it was,
My friend, she's an artist, Luba Lukova.
Yeah.
She took me for the first time in the Secret Theater, and that was 2006, maybe?
Yeah, 2006 probably.
So,
Yeah, Luba and I have been friends for a long time.
And at that time, LIC was industrial.
It was.
And we went in this, it was close to the train, I think.
Well,
where are you taking me?
The Long Island
just-
City. Listen, I had the same experience actually. If we go back a little further, 2001, my wife and I came over here because she was offered a job. So we were still in England then. And we got off at Queen's Plaza, and I swear we were both terrified. The way the place looked, the way it was desolate, bleak, terrible. Queens Plaza and Queensborough Approach and around that area was awful. And we wandered around lost, and at one point we were like, can you do this? Can you really move to New York? It was kind of scary.
Yeah.
But having said that, I've seen Long Island City grow, and I've been happy to be a part of it. At the event that I was at yesterday, they said that Long Island City's population has increased by 70%, I think, in the last 10 or 13 years.
I believe that.
That's a huge amount of people. And,
And
why
it's not stopping.
But why
It's
do
going
they
to
come?
continue.
All of the real estate people have used the Secret Theatre. They've used things like the art exhibitions, the galleries. These are the ambience that they sell to the people that come and take over those apartments and buy those apartments.
Yeah.
They actually admitted it yesterday, which was really a real estate meeting I was at yesterday. But people said, the artists go there first, and they know an area is going to be cool before it is.
Yes.
Right? And Long Island City, is nothing else if it's not very cool now.
So would the rezoning that is happening in that area, would that change the landscape for the worse?
A little. I mean,
Would the Secret
there's going to be
Theatre
something
affected?
like 60,000 new residents or something. That's a town.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it might. But
Would it lose its charm and what it's now, the
Not-
art community specifically?
not right away.
Okay.
Not right away, because if you take Vernon Boulevard, where there's a lot of those beautiful old row buildings, although there's been a couple of architectural vandalism incidents, like buildings that I don't like at all on that street, most of the street is still intact. And so that kind of villagey feel around Vernon Boulevard, certainly, which is really the heart of Long Island City, that still exists. And the side roads where there are still some cobbles. And I don't think it can change that quickly. I would say the good thing that could happen with this new development is that where the Secret Theatre now is, which is 44th Avenue at the top of Vernon Boulevard, that's an area that's still developing and up and coming, and there's a lot of work that can go on there. Yeah. But that little area is now becoming exciting. Down the street from me, there was an old building called the Metropolitan Building, which is now being completely refurbished. And that's going to be full of really interesting businesses, maybe fashion-type businesses. One floor is going to be all retro video machines and a special arcade. There's a beautiful little cafe just across the street from me. It looks like they're knocking down the other building. And honestly, some of those streets around there, they need work. We have probably the worst pothole problem in that northern part of Long Island City. The potholes are appalling around 9th Street, 10th Street, some 11th Street. So there's room.
Okay.
There's room for people to grow. I don't think you can stop progress either.
No, you can't. So when I came to the Secret Theatre back in the day, I started telling the story, but I saw you as Richard III.
Yes.
You played Richard III.
My
And
favorite role.
Yes. And you're named Richard.
Yeah.
But why did you start the Secret Theatre, and take us a little bit in UK? Did you act in the UK, or you were only a musician? I know you were part of a band and you produced music.
Yeah, no, okay, so...
A lot of questions in this question.
Yeah, I get it. So through my 20s, because I got a record deal with Virgin Records, and then later I met the manager of the Police, and then I became a record producer, and I worked with American bands over here, like a New York band called the Fleshtones. I worked in LA with a band called Wall of Voodoo, and we had a hit with a song called Mexican Radio with them. So I was taken into music, and I mean, music is an exciting life. I also toured. I played in Japan, I played in Germany, I played all over. And if you're a young person, man or girl, like, you're gonna love that life. You know, girls that go into the rock and roll business who are successful, they're having a great time. They're having a great time. So it took me a little while to find my way back to acting. So I rode that wave into the beach with the music business. But all along, I was thinking about acting and different things. And then the strangest thing was that in 1990, I had a child, my only daughter, Savannah, and she, at the age of 4, was invited to be a background artist on a film. And the friend who was booking all the background artists lived locally, so he called me, "Can I use your daughter?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I think so." And he goes like, "Well, you'll get paid to go, to be a chaperone." I was like, "Oh, that sounds like a fun day out. Okay." So I went, and I really enjoyed watching all the kids, do what they were told to do by the director. And then they said to me, "Hey, look, since you're coming in anyway, would you like to be like in a scene tomorrow? We're looking for 2 gay guys." I'm bald, so we're looking for 2 gay guys in a cafe, and you fit the bill. I'm not gay, but I don't mind being gay. So I was like, okay. That's, again, sounds like a good day out. I had no intention at that time. But the movie contained Asia Argento, who was Anthony Bourdain's girlfriend when he died, and Jared Harris, and then a very famous 60s, 70s British beauty called Julie Christie. And anyone who knows Julie Christie knows that nearly every British man of my generation was completely in love with that woman. She is a stunning, even though she was older, she was still stunning. So she walked onto set, and I had one of those aha moments. I was just staring at her. It's kind of embarrassing, but I don't actually lose it around famous people, but Julie Christie got me. And all of a sudden, into my head, the idea popped in like, wasn't I supposed to do this?
Oh.
And I thought I could do this. And I literally started to tell people I'm going to, retire from the music business. And everyone's like, "You're crazy. You have a career. It's maybe not as hot as it was in the early 80s, but you have a career." And I'm like, I don't care. I want to do this. So I went back to college. I was like a mature student working, in my late 30s, working with 20-year-olds, and trained. And it wasn't long after that I started like grabbing little, 1 or 2 day roles on some movies. So I did Saving Private Ryan. I did Shakespeare in Love, Batman Begins, and it just grew and grew and grew. And then because of my drive, I have a very big drive as a person. Most of my friends who were working in background artist work, a lot of them would say, "Oh, that guy's going places." And hopefully I don't do it in a way that I'm not one of those get out of my way type people, but I have a goal, I have a purpose in life. And I feel sorry for people that don't have a purpose, because that has been the engine that has driven all of the various successes I've had. It's why I'm able to convince people to start an art festival. It's why I believe I could create my own art center. If you build it, they will come. If you dream it, it may come to pass. But if you don't allow yourself to dream, then maybe nothing happens. So I've just believed all my life. I believe that I'll be okay. So even when money has been tight, which it has been over some years, it's all going to be okay in the end, And I got to give credit to my very, very supportive wife, Leslie. She's like a super patient, kind person. So with the madness that goes on around me all the time, she's a great life partner, and that makes it much easier. We don't fight about the fact that I work 12, 14-hour days. At the moment, I'm working every day until I get this place built. And yes, I am doing some of the building, But at the same time, I'm planning the next One Act Festival. I'm working on my ideas for King Lear because I want to play King Lear quite soon. I've done Richard, I've done Gloucester, I've done Shylock, I've done some of the big Shakespeare villains, and Lear is that role which is like it's the mountain that people think it's too hard to climb. And I did do a version of King Lear where I played Gloucester and Austin Pendleton, who's quite a famous actor, played
Austin
Lear.
Pendleton was my teacher in acting school.
Great. Well, Austin played Lear. And Austin told me a great story. And he said the first time he played Lear, a friend rang him and said, "Now, Austin, just promise me one thing. When you get done with playing Lear, don't quit acting." And Austin said, "Well, what on earth do you mean?" And apparently this is a role that can mess you up for life, But that's what I'm working on at the moment in my head, whilst doing all these other things like doing the drywall.
I want to go a little bit back. You mentioned following your passion, your drive. You have obviously a lot of drive, obviously a lot of passion and talent.
Yeah.
Did you ever follow the money? And is that a wrong thing?
No, it's a good
There's
question.
no right and wrong, but
No, it's a really good question to ask. There were opportunities, I think, for me to make a lot of money. And honestly, I didn't follow the money. Most of the music that I produced when I was a record producer, I was very proud of. They were albums and songs and tracks by people who, at that time, maybe they were acquired tastes. So, for instance, I worked with Nick Cave, who now people know he does all kinds of things. But I worked with Nick Cave, who was in a band called The Birthday Party, on an album called Junkyard. And that's regarded as a seminal album. So although people may not have heard of it, those people who follow Nick Cave, those people who like The Birthday Party as a band, that is a benchmark album for them. I also worked with a band called The Fall, and I did an album called Hex and Dutch Now, the same thing. This is regarded as the classic album from that band. So without wishing to sound arrogant, I was chasing the art, not the money. And, actually one of the reasons I gave up working in the music business, somebody said to me, "Well, why are you going to retire?" And I said, well, now that I'm getting older, it just seems like they want men my age to write songs for 15-year-old stage school girls to become pop stars. And I really didn't have a lot of interest in that. It's just like I probably could do it.
yeah.
But
it would have been for the money.
it would have been for the money, and I'm still making music. I'm working on an album.
You had to give up parts of you.
Yeah,
Did
you'd
you
have to
feel
give
like
up parts of yourself to do that, to me, music has to mean something. So that doesn't mean I don't like pop music, but I think that even Bruno Mars would agree that his latest song doesn't really have a deep meaning to it. There are lyrics in there about, "I need to know if you can move, and I would be really depressed if you couldn't." He's basically saying, "Get down on the floor." And, it's a song about dancing. I think Bruno Mars is an incredible artist. He's not a Bob Dylan type artist. He's not a Tom Petty type artist. He doesn't write songs that are about subjects so much as songs which are the background or the soundtrack to your life. He's amazing.
Right.
Totally respect him, but he's a hit machine factory,
Can you summarize in like one sentence your goal, your dream, or was it always something more elusive, like staying in the arts, or was it because you have the secret theater, but there are the spaces within that, and then there's obviously the theater, but you also had the school.
Got the school.
So
I love to teach. I love teaching kids drama and music and things. I teach at the moment. I teach bass and guitar to a couple of good students, and I love art. So I founded an arts festival in London in 1996, still going today. So the initial inspiration for the LIC Arts Open was something that I had done 15 years before. And although I'm not necessarily a visual artist in the sense I'm not a painter or sculptor, I've always been visual. I design album covers. I design posters. I do lots and lots of art. And so when I opened what is called Secret Arts in Long Island City, I was able to combine all my interests. So there's 16 artist studios for painters and photographers types. There's a dance studio. There are 5 rehearsal rooms / classrooms so we can teach and people can rehearse their plays. There's a theatre. There will be a recording studio. And I can't tell you how proud I feel that I've been able to pull that off, especially without any serious commercial backing, no banks behind me, lots of good credit cards. But, you know, other people might not risk the amount of risk that I've taken on at this time. I'm 70, so I've taken on a lot of risk, but I'm not the kind to retire anyway. And I just feel like I'll be okay. If I lost all my money tomorrow, I'd still be okay.
I think listening to you and knowing your journey, because I followed you for so many years and interviewed you many times, I think it comes down to mindset. Because the first Secret Theater, I know the space. Then during the pandemic, you lost everything. The space moved to Woodside, but that was in an antique shop.
Yeah.
And then, what a wonderful idea. And then you moved back to this amazing space now.
Yeah.
With all these different creative corners. And I think it comes down, listening to you now, it comes down to mindset. Like your way of thinking is just this, I believe it. If I lose everything because you lost it during the pandemic.
Maybe if I was younger, I'd be an influencer. You know what I mean?
I think you influence a lot of people, and I think you do now.
I'm an old influencer, but, you know, I do influence people. But, you know what I mean? It's like, I really enjoy getting other people going as well as myself, you know. So like working as a director, when you're working as a theatre director, you see the whole picture, right? But, you know, you also might be able to focus in on an actor who needs a little bit of help to get their performance to where it needs to be. And that is a very satisfying thing when they actually pull it off. Or recently, the Secret Academy, my school, we produced Newsy.